Well, so Viv, we have questions here from some Twittered questions for you, and I hope you can answer them. And the first one is, which up-and-coming West Indies player do you believe will shine in the 2015 Cricket World Cup?
That question, I think I'd love the team to do well rather than a particular individual, but because I guess if you have something done collectively, which means that the West Indies is going to be doing pretty well themselves. But I think Dwayne Bravo does have the quality in terms of what he does. He brings both discipline to the game. He's a magnificent fielder. He's pretty excellent with ball in hand. With bat, equally as good. So I guess someone of that nature in that all-round department, like a Dwayne Bravo, I think would be quite useful.
If you were playing now, would you still not wear a helmet?
I think there's that Bravo stuff, you know, about how you feel and the trust that you most certainly would put in yourself. That I do not quite see, and this may sound like I'm the bravest individual that can be, but I do not think there's anything that serious for me to do so at present. No, I don't think so. Cricket is cricket. It's still spelled the same. And to be fair, there isn't much aggression with a fast ball on a regular basis these days. So I can see myself still daunting that maroon.
Now, do you think you would have scored so many runs in Test cricket if you were facing Holding, Marshall, Roberts, and Croft?
Well, you've been asked that particular question on numerous occasions, and I say to myself, I'm just happy to be on the same side. You know, it's when you have something that's really good, I think we do have enough of these individuals, especially when we are in our domestic competition, islands versus islands and things like that. That I think is enough, and it's just great to know that you have these individuals, you know, who pack such a punch on your team.
And of course, when you were playing island against island, these players were in opposition.
Well, for sure, and there was some serious rivalry as well, because whenever we went on tour, you always wanted to make sure that there would be some bragging rights, what took place earlier, and as you know, the Red Stripe Cup we would have had before that, the Shell Shield tournament itself. So it's great to know that they're on my team and the teams that we would have been so successful with at that particular time. I'm just happy to know I was in their corner.
Your spell at Somerset, of course, is well known, and your relationship with Ian Botham. Joel Garner was there at the same time. Another West Indian, Hallam Mosley, a lot of people forget he was there as well. Was that your most enjoyable domestic experience in cricket?
Well, apart from the way things ended, I have no bad feelings about the place because I had a great time. It was a home away from home. I looked upon Taunton at that particular time as being just another spot away from Antigua. You know, it's a small environment, small town. And to me, I was able to fit in. I guess if I had come to one of the bigger cities like London, you can easily get so carried away, you know, and to have been in Somerset at that particular time is just perfect for me as an island person. Yeah.
And what about the relationship with Ian Botham?
Oh, yeah, these guys were just special. Up to this day, I don't think I've fully recovered from the relationships that we would have had, but they were all good. And to be part of such, where the individuals are concerned, what they would have done for me in terms of the friendship that we would have shared, it can never ever be replaced. You know, these are some of the memories that would be lingering along for a long time, so long as I'm still conscious.
Who would you rate as the best West Indies captain of all time? Besides yourself, of course.
No, I wouldn't even put myself in that particular category, Tony. But, you know, there are times that you'll hear people like Clive. I only can tell you maybe the times that I would have played, and the captains that I would have had at that time, and Clive Lloyd. I ain't going to mention any other because I heard about Sir Frank Worrell earlier, and from all reports, he was equally as good. And I guess maybe that's why Clive was in such position, because you would have had someone like him and what he would have stood for. And I guess Clive was sort of an old school. He felt that there were certain little things that could have been passed on to the present day individual. And I think he tried to do that. And you hear talk at times that Clive had a great team. What I've got to remind folks is that we never started like that. I remember when we first went to India in 1974, that's where we started to grow. We didn't go to India, the polished product. We had to work hard, and leadership must play a huge part in terms of helping to bring those guys along. And with that sort of a foundation, we went on to achieve many things, in terms of the success that we would have had as a team.
Then you had your setback 5-1 in Australia. They beat you with Lillee and Thompson and so on, and yet you recovered from that under Clive.
I remember we were having a drink in the Sydney bar after we were just trounced by Australia again in that 5-1 series. And I can remember Clive saying, "Hey Viv, if we only get some guys who are as aggressive and as fast as the Australians, we are going to be okay in the future." And funny enough, that was such a huge prediction in Clive, what Clive said at that time. We had Andy Roberts, the silent killer in my opinion. I've never seen any fast bowler who would have maybe demolished batsmen in terms of injuries that like Andy himself. Andy had a few scalps in his category. But then Michael Holden came, and then gradually, because of that particular pattern, we found a way in terms of what the other teams didn't like, what they felt they were dishing out to us. There were times we were called happy hookers and all that sort of stuff. But then we found out that what they were dishing out, they didn't like themselves. And even the Aussies, when you hear an Aussie started to grumble about what pace was all about and what aggression was all about, you felt that you had the beating of them.
What, in your opinion, is the highest end about the bats nowadays, how the engineered bats they have now? They're somewhat different to the ones you batted with. The edges are that thick that you see batsmen getting a top edge and it flies several rows into the stand. What are your feelings on those bats?
I have my own opinion where these bats are concerned. The bats have become so much better, and the ball seems to be traveling much further. Why have 60 and 65-yard boundaries? I just believe that there are times where it just makes the fast bowler look a fool, and it's like maybe he's cannon fodder to what's going on at that particular time. And when you have bats that good, why not make a decent sized boundary, 75 yards at least, and 80? You give them something to hit, give them a mark to hit, and I just feel at times it looks like a benefit match in some of these T20s because of the boundaries, and I think it's totally unfair. Can you imagine a batsman speaking like this about fast bowlers and bowlers? But it's a total disrespect to guys, who wants to do well with ball in hand.
Because there has been suggestions that the ICC should have in a regulation limiting the size of bats and the size of edges and so on.
No, well, if you're going to do that, then you can start dealing with the boundaries themselves and making them a decent size.
What is your favorite cricket ground?
We're sitting here right now. As a little boy, I can remember I first came here in 1970, was it 72, 73? We went to Alfgover Cricket School, and the first place that I wanted to come was to see the headquarters of cricket. And I always remember those little white gates, and said at some point I'd love to be pushing those gates. And finally, funny enough, the dreams that you had came through. Who tell you that anyone that says to you that you're a dreamer, you tell them to get away, because sometimes dreams do come true. And this place have always been the place that I appreciate more than anything else, especially when you have those whites on.
100 in the World Cup final, and double 100 or whatever it was here, 100 here. Let's rate that World Cup final 100 at Lord's.
Well, these are stuff I always felt that the true cricket buffs watch cricket at Lord's. And whenever you would have accomplished anything here itself, it would give you the status that someone here remembers something that would have taken place out there. And it hasn't changed in my opinion. But the place is just phenomenal. I guess what every footballer used to feel like going to, especially if you're in the FA Cup and you have your supporters going to Wembley and things like that, this is what I felt. This, to me, as an individual playing cricket, what it meant.
Malcolm Marshall.
That's all I need to say.
Oh man, he was special, man. And whenever you speak of such individual, I get very emotional because I think he is one of the greatest individual person as well that I would have come across. And as a captain, more so than anything, if you notice that I'm getting a little emotional here now, he was of such help to me as a captain because he was one of the smartest in terms of fast bowlers, in my opinion. Words cannot describe. You know, he was just, people ask me, who would be the best fast bowler that you would have played with? And I'll tell them, and I'll give them my reasons. Because there's a lot of guys who used to go to places like India and Pakistan and surrender because of the wickets. Malcolm, to me, he stood tall. He was the shortest of them all. But what he had in terms of his army, he was just as tall as a Ghana, Joel Ghana. And to me, he will always go down as the greatest, in my opinion. Having captained him, the contribution that he made, what I saw him did in places where fast bowlers wouldn't dream to go. Malcolm, he was as tall as Joel Ghana.
Looking well, it's a long time to look over. We see all sorts of things on the walls here carrying you way, way back. Who will be the best batsman of all time?
I've always looked at Sunil Gavaskar, and I'll say this over and over again. And I apologize to all the greats, you know, who would have graced the cricket world itself. And why? At a time when I think the West Indian fast bowlers were at their best, there were times where guys wouldn't want to bat against these guys, sometimes even surrendering, as I think Abishon Betty did in Jamaica. It's scoring 14, yeah, maybe I may need some correction here, but scoring 14 test match hundreds against the attack that was so feared, that's got to be very, very special. And some guys hardly have that in with their stats or whatever. But scoring 14 test match hundreds against an attack that was feared by so many batsmen around the world, Sunil Gavaskar, here again is another guy who, if you saw him personally, you would think that what he's doing with a cricket bat in hand, he should be on a horseback, you know. But as a jockey, but they were just huge, huge individuals, you know. And you don't have to be 6'8", 6'9", or 10 for you to be a champion. And I think he was very special in my eyes.
How tall are you?
I always walk around just maybe for the bravoism stuff, tell folks that I'm 6 foot whatever, but I think I'm still 5'10", somewhere around there, 5'11".
And finally, the best bowler you faced during your career?
Dennis Lillee. He was special, and apart from maybe that nasty looking mustache that he would have at times and the long hair, in my eyes, because he never surrendered. And there are times you'd have the better of fast bowlers, and sometimes you can see them surrendering. They put the little white flag up. Dennis never did that. You know, he was always coming at you, and to me, he was the best one that I would have encountered. Yeah.